877-474-7685.
Back on Get Down to Business. Get Down to Business is brought to you in part by Everett Wealth Solutions, a registered investment advisor and financial planning firm, a fiduciary advisor that helps you create your personal financial wealth. You can give them a call at 708-771-7777, 708-771-7777, or visit them online at everettwealthsolutions.com. So at just after you listen to Get Down to Business, there will be some more entertainment. And I hate to say it, but probably most likely even more entertaining than Get Down to Business will be the Democratic debate. I was just talking over the weekend.
Completely different reasons.
For completely and totally different reasons. Over the weekend, I was talking with somebody, and this had potential to be among the most boring of elections. Bush versus Clinton. It's not anymore, George.
No, I don't think so. I think it's interesting. It's going to be boring in a sense that all you're going to have is bad choices next November. But aside from that, it should be actually quite interesting because you have Donald Trump, who can't help himself but just denigrate people at every turn. You have Sanders, who I'm not really sure. I can't get a read on his personality. He seems like a guy who's very driven, but at the same time, could just have lunch and not care.
Trump does not denigrate. He actually said on CNN State of the Union today that he tries to do nothing that's bad, and he lives a very different life than probably a lot of people would think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't
we'll just
denigrate.
take him at his word on that one. I don't know. I see the thing with Trump is there was a very, we were talking about this before the show, and there's a very interesting aspect to Trump, which is he's everybody's awesome best friend until they are in his way, and then they are just the worst thing ever. Ted Cruz was the greatest guy, then the guy with the clearest vision aside from himself, of course, and everything. As soon as Ted Cruz pulls ahead in Iowa, then he's just, nobody likes him, and
I think that on the Democrat side, they're finally starting to take notice of Bernie Sanders. They're finally trying to sort of vet him out. They asked about his about his medical records for the first time. Now, the guy's ancient, and they're now starting to talk about, is he actually fit to be commander-in-chief? Now that he's leading in the polls in Iowa, leading in the polls certainly in New Hampshire.
We got through a full term of Taft.
Yeah.
So if anybody could live through it, I think.
I think he could live through it. The guy has more spunk and energy than Hillary Clinton. There's no question.
By far.
There's no question. But at what point will the Republican Party say, instead of thinking this Trump thing is a phase and this Bernie Sanders thing is a phase, at what point will they start to realize, oh my God, this is real?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you end up with Trump and Sanders in the general next November, look for multiple third, fourth, and fifth party candidates, because those are going to be the ones to vote for. Might actually vote Libertarian without a smirk on my face for once.
It's incredible, and it's actually a very real scenario at this point.
Well, it genuinely could be. I mean, it's a long shot, for sure. But what you could be seeing is actually the disintegration of both main parties.
Yeah.
Which would be incredibly chaotic, but also very interesting.
I mean, I would think
from a spectator's
that
point of view, anyway.
If there's a Trump versus Sanders election, I mean, you could potentially either have you'll have
the greatest drinking games in history. But anyway,
oh my goodness, you'd have either a socialist president, or a Donald Trump as president. It's just it's unreal. So you went from it could have been a Bush versus a Clinton election, and who would have had fun with that, to a Trump Sanders. I mean, who knows?
Between Trump and Sanders, they're sort of opposites, and not in the way that many people think. Because you see Trump, and Trump is a guy who will literally say anything, whether he believes it or not, in order to gain support and cash and whatever. And he's an excellent self-promotion and everything else. Sanders is the opposite. Sanders will say whatever he believes, no matter how outlandish and no matter how absurd, in order to get his point across. And he doesn't seem to care whether people want to hear that message or not. And it's a good thing, because the debate that's going on tonight, nobody's going to be,
Nobody's watching it.
Yeah. I mean, you got NFL football. We've got the Hawks on in here.
I think they had, I think the last debate was, I think, between Christmas and New Year's.
Right.
I think now they're doing it on and it was Saturday night, if I'm not mistaken. This one's on a Sunday night with
Sunday
all
night
the
during
sports
playoff
playing.
Football. Yeah.
It's what are they trying to hide?
Well, you almost get the impression, if I were a cynic, I would have the impression that maybe the DNC was stumping for Hillary. I mean, if you think, I'm looking at poll numbers right here, right? And this is just one example. It's Real Clear Politics, national poll likely voters. Clinton's up 12.5%, and that's the low end. So NBC actually has her up 25% nationwide. If you want something,
you mean ahead of Martin O'Malley?
No, ahead of Sanders.
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Martin O'Malley, is he still running? Nobody
is he
really
still
knows.
alive? Oh, you know what? He's in double digits. Oh, wait, no, there's a decimal in there. So you have this going on here. What's the easiest way to make sure nothing changes? To make sure nobody pays attention.
Of course.
So yeah, it's
Donald Trump. I actually think he's a nice guy. Just for fun, I looked up some of his old quotes, and he said just a few months ago, to your point, he said Ted Cruz, he's a good guy. I like him. Today he said Donald Trump on Ted Cruz. He's a nasty guy. Nobody likes him. He's a nasty guy. He says that the born in Canada
changed.
thing. He says that wasn't an issue.
Yeah.
Now it is an issue.
Yeah, right.
It's hard to keep track of it here, but somehow the guy gets away with anything.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I've said this about Obama, and I'll say this about Cruz. You've got an American citizen as a parent. You could be born on Mars. You're a natural born American citizen,
right?
You know, there are kids. Christopher, I can't remember his name now. He's a congressman. He was born in Pakistan because his dad worked at the embassy in Pakistan. He could run for president. He was born in Pakistan because he's a natural born American citizen. People just stop being idiots.
At every moment in this Trump campaign, I keep thinking. I mean, I'm the idiot because I keep thinking, oh my gosh, how is he going to get out of this? When he said about John McCain, he says,
he just clears his history.
Yeah,
he just clears his history and just says something completely different. We'll
John McCain, I like people that didn't get caught. And I was like, John McCain is a war hero. No matter what you say, he's an amazing person. He's
I was waiting for like a high five joke or something out of him. It was one of the worst comments I've ever heard.
Banning Muslims. Then there was deporting everybody. It's one thing after the next, and it just keeps coming.
And he only speaks in unequivocal certainty. Like he only speaks in absolute certainties.
Yeah,
there is no nuance. There is no qualifiers. There's nothing like that. It's always just blah. And what he's doing is appealing to that sort of bottom 15%. And those are the bottom 15% who will end up voting for him. Unfortunately, 15% does not.
He has an enthusiastic base, and they're pumped up and ready to go. So I don't believe all this debate about people that won't turn up at the polls. I think that they will turn up. They're coming out to rallies. I saw in Pensacola, Florida, the other day that he had a massive, massive crowd in a district that not all that long ago was the George W. Bush district.
Right. And
he had people waiting in line all day long to get into the rally.
Yeah, to be fair, they do come from quite far, actually.
Yeah, people are saying, oh, well, they're not going to turn up at the polls. You're talking about going to a school a block away from your house, and it takes 5 minutes to vote. I think.
Well, Trump has an interesting paradigm with him, which is he is saying all of the things that sort of the base wanted the establishment to be talking about for the last 10 years, right? So he's talking on all the topics that are going to get that sort of red-blooded response, very high emotion response. So yeah, he's going to draw more people than somebody like Martin O'Malley. No, somebody like Rubio or somebody who's just speaking common sense, or that you're not going to get that sort of fervor to increase. He's already been at the top for too long, for one thing, so he's already burning out. And the second thing is, once you get past a couple of primaries, I think a lot of people are going to have it set in like, wait a minute, this is for keeps.
Yeah,
this means something. This isn't the class president. This isn't.
This is a business show after all. And what I find fascinating is what this will mean, what a Trump potentially could do for business, and on the other side of things, a Sanders, a socialist, what that can mean for business. So I will be following this carefully, and I'm gonna rename this segment over here. This is from the other side of the curtain,
other side of the glass,
because we have producer George here in studio for, I believe, the first time in Get Down to Business history. I mean, you do come in. George does pop in to the studio.
I do work here, so I do enter the studio at some point.
But it's not during the segments. You're not allowed in here.
Air on your show a couple of small
chiming
times.
in, but on the other side of the glass.
Yes.
Yeah, George is not allowed in studio during the segment. So this is from the other side of the glass, from the other side of the curtain.
Correct.
And
Technically,
George.
I'm not allowed out of the basement during the week when people are here. I'm sort of the WIND hunchback.
Yeah. Hey, listen, maybe we'll even post a picture of producer George. But
yeah, let's break a camera. Why not?
Well, appreciate the perspective, and I think it'll be interesting to see what will happen. Follow the debate tonight, and you can have some fun having these drinking games, talking about Trump and talking about Sanders and talking about Hillary, talking about all of the candidates and but in all seriousness, follow what they say about business, because this election is turning chaotic quickly, and I think it'll be very important to make sure that they stay focused on the issues. After the break, we will be talking with a very, very special guest about arts and Skokie, arts and special needs. You don't want to miss it. You're listening to Get Down to Business, the show that's all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship.
President Obama